Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode 3 of the OddsJam NBA Show with your hosts, Matt and Puneet. Puneet, how we doing?
We are doing all right. Happy Tuesday, folks.
Happy Taco Tuesday.
Yeah, gotta love those. But no LeBron or no Taco Tuesday behind me today. This week it's going to be a little different. I'm going to give the Bulls my favorite team name, actually, the Balzac. They're due because they've been balling out.
Yeah. Hey, the only 4-0 team in the NBA right now.
Yeah, gotta love it. So last time they were 4-0, it was 96-97 season.
Yeah, not the Dream Team year, the Last Dance year, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, hey, do you think they're going to go 72-10?
I mean,
I'm just kidding.
Maybe, who knows? That would be kind of wild.
Yeah, I mean, them and the Warriors are the only undefeated teams in the NBA. Well, I guess no, the Jazz are 2-0, but they don't count because they've only played 2 games.
Yeah, 2-0. But yeah, I mean, on the very surprised team to be 3-0 right now. I mean, again, it's only 3 wins, but hey, they're playing well. They look fun. So.
4 wins.
Sorry, 4 wins.
Yeah. All good. So yeah, now that we're 1 week into the NBA season, the majority of the show is just going to be like our thoughts on how everything's gone in the first week. But now that OddsJam has everything up as far as like the NBA props and stuff, we first wanted to start off with just like Puneet will do his Arbs. We're calling that segment Weekend at Arbys. And then less creative name for me, I'll be doing all my like positive expected value plays, and I'll just be positive ED because not all ED is bad. In this case, it's positive. So we'll just start off giving like, some of the money we've made, what we were looking at this past week, what we're looking at this next week as far as games. So I'll let you start off with your weekend at Arbys.
Yeah, it was a good week. Just in general, Arbs, it's kind of a slower process. You kind of build your bankroll, and as you keep winning Arbs, you continue to pile on. But you're probably profiting, anywhere from 2 to 5%, I would say, on average per Arb. So it's a slow process, like I said. Given that. I personally took 10 Arbs in the last week for the NBA in particular and came out with $180 in profit. Nice. So roughly $18 to $20 per pick, which is not bad at all. I mean, again, this is free money. You literally are doing nothing. There's no analysis to it. You literally just hop on OddsJam. You refresh their tool, their betting tool, which is the Arbitrage bets tool, and then you go and lock the bets. So you constantly, there's really no effort to it at all. All you're really doing is hitting that refresh button and trying to beat the books before they update their line. I guess that's the only skill is you got to be quick on your feet, I guess, and move your thumbs pretty quick in order to lock all this stuff in or get onto your laptop and lock it all in. So we'll give one for tonight. I know it's a little, we'll see what time this one goes out, but tonight we have the Dallas Mavericks and the Houston Rockets over under 213 on MGM. You can get it for -200, the over, and you can get at FanDuel plus 210 on under 213.5. So let's do some sample calculations here. So if you were to put, now I'm going to go a little more because obviously as I'm arbing, my bankroll's a little bigger. So I'm going to be putting 1,500 on this. So I'll put $1,000 down on the MGM Arb of over 213 at -200, and then roughly $484 on the under at plus 210, and that'll get me $17. So it's just little things like that. I mean, like I said, I'm putting 1,500 away. I'm going to basically let FanDuel and MGM borrow that cumulative money for a couple hours, and then they're going to return it right back to me with $16, $17 in interest. So I'll take that any day of the week.
Yeah. I mean, no, it's a great process. And, I was ready to make a joke when you're talking about how you have to be like, quick to lock stuff in. I was like, unlike ED, Puneet is very quick on the draw. So he always gets those in. He always gets those in quickly. Yeah, I mean, Irving's great because it's like you said, it's free money. You don't have to think about it. It's the good way to describe it is you're loaning money. Like you're loaning money and then you're guaranteeing this profit back. And the only thing I'll add to that is if you're confused at all the numbers and stuff, OddsJam does all the calculations for you. So you don't even need to think about all the stuff that Puneet was saying. You just literally need to put in the money that you're putting in, and then it tells you what to do. And then you loan money and it's free.
Exactly. I mean, as I was talking to you guys through it, I was just using the calculator that was available on OddsJam to make my life easier. I didn't know if I were to put 1,000 on one that I would have to put 480 on the other. That's literally all OddsJam, just putting in the calculator that they provide you,
So
hitting
you would,
refresh, hitting submit, and then locking it in yourself.
yeah. So you wouldn't say you're a savant with all the numbers. Can't do that all in your
Absolutely.
head.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
And looking for this is a nightmare too. So I love that OddsJam has it all available for us.
Yeah. Oh, it's amazing. Yeah, it's nice because you could, I don't know, the way I view it is you have your money set away for stuff that you actually want to bet on. You know, and then arbing is just kind of a way to fund that. So
Exactly.
arbing is essentially it's your piggy bank for all the bets you want to make. So however much you want to bet for the week, it just profit that in arbs, and then you're betting on free money. You're betting with house money.
Exactly. So throughout the show, when I'll be continuously refreshing this arbitrage bets tool. So I'll try to give some that are later on this week. So for those of you who are watching a little later, you can lock a couple of these in, and hopefully they're still around when you do check this video out.
Nice. Yeah. So arbing's great. I love it. I do it all the time. But for me, I would say I spend the majority of my time and energy into positive expected value bets. So to get into our positive ED segment, so I had actually had an incredible week betting on basketball. To be clear, not all weeks are going to be as good as the week I just had. But since opening night, which was a week ago tonight on Tuesday, I've profited over $1,000 on basketball alone. This isn't including football, only on basketball. And that's just from doing positive expected value bets. So for me, I don't have a huge bankroll. I limit myself to 500 on each sports book. So essentially, and that's what I consider my bankroll. So essentially, I've doubled my bankroll in 7 days of doing positive EV betting.
Yeah, that's nuts. I mean, but that also shows you the power of the tool in OddsJam itself.
Exactly. So like I said, don't expect every single week to be that successful. I'll definitely have some losing weeks. But I've been doing this since week 2 of the NFL season, and I've only had one negative week. I've been positive every week since, and just from positive EV betting alone, I've profited over 1,600. So before we get into like the meat and potatoes of the show, I kind of wanted to just highlight some of the bets I made. And the beauty of it is there's a bunch of different strategies of how you want to go about doing it. So one strategy is I'm only going to do positive expected value bets on odds that are plus money. So that way I don't have to hit 50% of my bets to profit. So if you want to do that, let's look at some bets I made. So yesterday, Domantas Sabonis, I butchered that.
My man.
Saboner. He's on my fantasy team. He's actually doing really good. But the play on him was the player assists him, Saboner, under 6.5. So if I was just looking at that, I probably would have guessed over because he's like a really good passing big man. But the under reflects the logic that the public would have thought it would go over because that was priced at plus 105. So with my bankroll using the Kelly criterion calculator, that's just right on there on OddsJam. I put $80 on that. So I made 164 back right there.
That's nice.
Very nice. The next one I'll highlight, and this will be the last one I do, is so Joe Harris, his over under on threes was 3.5. That was priced at plus 145. And the closing line on that, the true odds based on the perfect line according to OddsJam was plus 123. So that was the positive value, the plus 123 to plus 145. And I put $50 on that and I profited $122. So, I mean, there's more than I could highlight. So that's one strategy, is just only doing positive or plus money. Or the other strategy is you only take positive expected value bets where the winning percentage based on the odds is over a certain percent. So like if something is 60% chance of hitting based on the true line, according to what OddsJam has as the perfect line, you're getting that at like plus 100. There's the crazy positive expected value. So there's different ways to skin a cat. For me, I'm an equal opportunity positive expected value. So I'll do anything. I'll do anything that I deem a good bet, and I'll just fucking load it. So that's how like I said, that's how I've gotten the $1,000 to start in only 7 days. Again, I do want to say I don't expect to make $1,000 every week, but I mean, that's in 1 week I've paid for the industry plan like 5 times that amount. and that's with a lower bankroll. I feel like most people have a higher bankroll than 500. So I'm definitely going to increase it now and see how that goes. But yeah, I don't know if you wanted to comment on any of the bets that I talked about or anything with positive with the ED segment that we're doing, but it's been very fruitful for yours truly.
Yeah, I mean, not much else to say other than it clearly works. The tool is clearly flexing its muscles a bit this week in opening week. So I'm hoping that this is a sign of good things to come for the rest of the season. We have like how many more weeks of NBA?
A lot.
So yeah, exactly. So let's see if we can keep that nice streak rolling here.
Yeah, very excited to recap how we do over the weeks that we're doing the podcast, the recap how we're doing, because
yeah,
I think it's good for people to see real life examples of like, oh, like these two schmucks can make money betting on sports.
Exactly.
Maybe I should do it too.
Yeah, it's exactly that, right? Like, you don't want to get kind of trapped or fall into the trap of these random guys on Twitter who are like, oh, pay me for your service.
I'm a capper. I only give winning picks.
Exactly. That's all their opinion. They, that if you track them long term, they're not profiting. So using a actual analytics tool like OddsJam pretty much guarantees you to profit. So I don't really see why you wouldn't take advantage of something like this. Yeah, I mean, yeah, if us two are able to do it, even after we have followed those cappers and whatever.
Yeah. They used to be our life until we got smarter and used OddsJam.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Honestly, I feel like those cappers probably use OddsJam as a tool and just give their favorite plays of it. So if you use OddsJam, you just get access to all of that.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's the that's like the majority of like the I don't know, the numbers specific OddsJam stuff that we want to get into now. I feel like the stuff that we're excited to talk about is actual NBA stuff. See what's going on. 1 week into the NBA season, I feel like there's already so much drama.
Yeah,
of course, we have to start at Oaf Corner.
Are we starting with the oafs this week?
I feel like we have to. Well, luckily there's no Kyrie Irving news, so we don't. Nothing happened. He's been quiet for the past 7 days. We'll see what happens 7 days from now. But the main headlines was Ben Simmons, and like I don't know, 7 weeks or 7 days since we last recorded. So much has gone down in the Ben Simmons news.
Yeah. Okay. So
Simo the Savage.
Right. Do you want to recap everything that's going on?
I don't want to recap everything, but basically,
yeah, give me the high points.
Yeah, I mean that'll take, I don't know, 4.5 hours to recap what happened in the past 7 days. Basically, he refused to participate in practice, so Doc kicked him out, and then they suspended him for opening night, and then without pay for conduct detrimental to the team, and then he finally met with the team on Friday morning of the night or the day of their home and opener. He spoke to Joel Embiid for the first time since Game 7 and just said that he wasn't mentally ready to play. And I don't know, the Sixers have supported him, which I respect, or the players, I should say. And, I was at opening night and Embiid was like, everybody, please still support Ben. He's still our brother. Tobias had a pretty big, his press conference was Ben Simmons centric. Even after a tough loss to the Nets, he talked very respectfully of how we need to respect his privacy and everything he's going through. So I think we're kind of both on the same line as, we don't knock mental illness, anything like that.
Absolutely.
We're never going to call someone mentally weak, and I'm certainly not calling him mentally weak. So if he's going through something, obviously he should get help, and I respect him. If it is actually what's going on, and not just him being scared to step on a basketball court after the embarrassment of the Hawks series, I'm certainly not saying that's the case, but yeah. And then Daryl Morey came on a radio show and said that could be 4 more years of this because we're not trading him if we're not getting a good offer. So 4 more years.
Yeah. Yikes. So yeah, obviously, if it is, something that's, he needs a mental break, mental awareness, that's totally fine. Right. Like if he needs that break, if he needs to kind of get away and kind of get himself composed before coming back to the team, great. I don't know if, it switched very quickly from a very hostile situation to a more lighthearted one. Excuse me. And so I'm curious to see where this goes now. I'm curious to see if that relationship will be able to be mended because, just 7 days ago, it really seemed like there was no way in hell that Ben Simmons would ever wear a Sixers jersey ever again. But now looking at it, it does seem like that's a little more possible. And we'll kind of see, and we'll see what happens to this whole situation as the season progresses. Now, one thing actually that I did want to bring in is Damien Lillard.
He's on my notes as well.
Yeah. So what the heck is wrong with him? He's 2 for 24 from 3 to start the year, and he has not been playing well. So the reason why I'm tying it in now is because Morey must be salivating and trying to get into the ear of the Trailblazers to be like, hey, look, Dame is not playing well. You should definitely trade him now.
Yeah. Well, so that is part of what I wanted to talk about regarding the Simmons or regarding the Sixers is, I don't know. I was incredibly frustrated the entire offseason of them holding such a hard line about Daryl Morey just saying, we're not trading him for like at below his value. We're not doing it. And at some point you kind of just have to rip the Band-Aid off. But
it's not even, sorry to interrupt, not even under his value. They were overvaluing him. I mean, I think we can all kind of agree with that yeah, Ben's a good player, great player, but what Morey was kind of asking and demanding, I don't think many people agreed with that.
Yeah, I to be fair, I think he was kind of trying to negotiate through the media saying, oh, we're asking for a Harden like package. I don't think he actually expected to get that. I think, classic negotiating tactic, you ask for over what you actually are willing to accept. But now that the games have started, I think that, the Sixers, so the opening night against the Nets, they had a 10-point lead with 5 minutes left, and then they got outscored 16-1. Every issue they had at the end of that game was prevalent at the end of the Hawks series, even without Ben Simmons being on the court. So I kind of respect Daryl Morey in his stance that, hey, I mean, if I trade him for pennies on the dollar, we're going to have the same issues that we've had before. So I'm not trading him for someone that's not going to help us in those crunch time minutes, because Doc clearly can't coach. I don't even need to get into Doc's coaching blunder. And as good as Embiid is, it's hard to run through a big man in crunch time of the playoffs or crunch time of a big game. It's just easy to front a big man, and the Sixers just don't have anybody that can break a defense down and make a play, either to score or to pass. So I kind of respect, actually, now that the games have started, his stance saying, I mean, if our goal here is to win a championship, especially while Embiid is, I don't know, 50% healthy, who knows with him these days. It's really like, I'd rather just hold firm for this year and say, hey, we're not like Dame's he's a free agent. What after next year? Brad Beal's a free agent after this year. Zach LaVine's a free agent after this year. A star is if it's not one of them, it's like maybe, I don't know, maybe Cat requests out and you could some sort of 3-team trade where Cat goes somewhere. I don't know. You know what I mean? I feel like so much changes in the NBA. The James Harden at the end of last year, maybe you could have expected him requesting a trade, but just saying, I don't know. There's always a star that becomes available is my point. So now that the games have started and people have actual basketball to talk about, I think it's easier to hold firm in the stance. And I think the public is more understanding of kind of where he's coming from.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think obviously looking at it through a lens, I totally get where that's coming from. So just editor's note, Lillard is under contract through the 24-25 season, but that 24-25 season is a player option. So he could opt out after the 23-24 season.
So, okay. So I was wrong.
2 years.
Yeah. Okay. So I was wrong. But yeah, so that whole Sixers combination or conversation is something I want to talk about. What you mentioned is the Blazers. So Dame's whole thing was, I don't want to come back to the same crap where we're a 6 seed and we get blown out by the Pelicans in the playoffs. Can't say that the season has started great for the Blazers. They're 1-2. To be fair, they did blow the crap out of the Suns, but the 2 losses are to the Kings and the Clippers, who the Clippers are good, but they don't have Kawhi, and the Blazers just got absolutely annihilated by the Clippers. So I don't know. That seat seems to be getting hot for the Damian Lillard trade talks.
Yeah, and we talked about this before, that had that conversation not come out, not been leaked during Team USA, where Dame was going to request a trade. Both of us thought he probably would have quietly done it anyways. So I do think that it just, I don't understand Portland and their just what's going on with their organization, why they, for the last, 6-7 years, haven't done anything to help Dame out.
Yeah.
Just every offseason he says we need to do something, and they sign nobody, literally nobody.
No, sorry, go ahead. Finish your thoughts.
No, it's fine. I don't see, I get it. I understand the loyalty. I understand Dame, saying, all right, well, I started something here and I want to see it through, but I'm sorry, Dame. I think it's run its course at this point.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of last season, he said that he wasn't coming back unless they made significant changes. I mean, they hired Chauncey Billups, who obviously had that whole sexual assault issue back, I don't know, however long ago that was.
Mm-hmm.
Basketball coaching, or that aside, specifically, if you're looking at a basketball coach, he seems to be well regarded as far as a basketball mind goes. But the only thing,
absolutely,
as far as the players on the court, was re-signed Norm Powell, who's already hurt. I don't know. I mean, their peak was the conference finals run they made back in 2019.
Mm-hmm.
I think that unless you have Steph and Clay, you really can't win with your two best players being undersized guards. And Clay isn't really even undersized, and he's an incredible defender. And neither of them are Steph and Clay. So they should have just traded CJ McCollum years ago. That's kind of the main thing. It's the common denominator has been Dame and CJ. I don't know why they never thought to break that up.
Yeah, I really have no idea. I think
I like CJ, to be clear.
I do too.
Yeah, he's good.
Maybe just because they're a small market, they just feel like, and maybe, I don't know, because being a small market, you can't really get free agents. You have to win trades. You have to win the draft. And they haven't done either.
Yeah, they really haven't done it. I mean, I don't know. I mean, what's the difference between the team they have now and the 5 years ago? I mean, it's the same.
Exactly.
I mean, they added Nurkic, who's good, but like he's not a ceiling raiser. I don't like, they added Covington, who's good, but again, like he's not moving the needle.
He's just a role player.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like they've just treaded water for 6 years, and eventually, a player like Dame, as good as he is, as loyal as he's been, eventually the losing just gets to you.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's, I mean, for Dame's sake, I really hope that they end up trading him. I really hope that he requests a trade, because he should probably get out of there.
I would love to see Dame on on a winning team.
Mm-hmm.
So here's my hot take.
All right.
And it's getting into another topic I want to talk to you about, but we thinking that there could be some sort of Russell Westbrook, Damian Lillard swapperoo.
Ooh, that, I don't know. That's a tough one, actually. I don't think it would happen, because, I mean, that would just be like the Lakers winning that trade by 1,000,000,000%.
Yeah. The only reason why the Blazers would do it is out of respect for Dame, saying, well, like,
go win your chip.
Yeah, go win your chip. I don't know. There's always been rumors about him being interested in the Lakers. To be clear, the Lakers don't have the assets for it. Unless the Blazers really value Russell Westbrook, where I don't know why they would, because they need a ceiling raiser, not a floor raiser,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But the contracts match up. I just think there's something juicy there that Lakers always just seem to get what they want. They got it, Anthony Davis. They really got rid of all their assets as far as picks and young players. But I'm just saying the contracts match up too well for it to not have some sort of rumor come out.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that rumor will come out at some point. Especially with the way Russ has started, but that's a conversation we can get into.
So that is what I wanted to talk about next, is the Lakers.
Right. Before we do that, though, because I think we're going to round out Oaf Corner here, I have a request to add a player into the Oaf Corner.
Oh, let's hear it. I have no idea who you're talking about.
This is there's no chance you get it because it's kind of off the wall here. But I'm feeling Zion gets some recognition in the Oaf Corner here.
Okay, so talk to me about why.
Yeah, so we talked last pod about how he's kind of done stuff on his own without the team, hurt himself without practicing with the team, without being outside of the team. His family kind of starting to, take over in terms of his decision making, things like that.
Yeah, Uncle Dennis.
Yeah, so there's been reports that he's reached north of 300 pounds this offseason. And we can all see it in the Mountain Dew commercial where he's sitting on the couch and literally engulfing the entire couch. And he has like 6 chins and just pounding Mountain Dew. Yeah. But we're also not the number 1 overall pick in the NBA.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I said, they're concerned that he's over 300 pounds when his playing weight was 280 last year. And obviously with whatever foot injury he has, him getting bigger is not going to be good at all. And when he came for the preseason trip in Minnesota, there were reports out saying that a lot of the officials said, we know what Zion looks like at 280. And he was massive in comparison to what he his playing size and what he should be looking like playing. And obviously they didn't mean it like massive, like he got yoked or anything like that. They meant he's had one too many Mountain Dews. Yeah. He's had a lot of Mountain Dews. So we talked about this, him being just, kind of, you said you don't expect him to play this entire year, not until 2022. At this point too, now he's probably, I feel like any publicity that comes out about him is probably going to be more negative. That's why I want to put him in the oaf corner as an honorary member, because I feel like it's something we're going to probably revisit a few times, and I don't really foresee any positive news coming out of that front.
Yeah, no, that's fair. And not as a professional athlete, not getting yourself in shape is pretty oaf-like. So I don't hate the addition to oaf corner.
Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, even before this jump in his weight, he was always kind of someone that struggled with weight issues. He's always been kind of like, I mean, dude, you need to lose 10 pounds. Like I don't think it's a coincidence that he's had such injury problems, because he puts so much stress on his joints just because of how athletic he is. And then now because he's putting on weight, he's not shedding weight. He's doing the opposite of what he should be doing.
Yeah. And it doesn't seem like it's muscle or lean anything.
Yeah, it's Mountain Dew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's trending in the wrong direction big time. It's fire the alarms for me. Not yet, but get them ready, I think.
Sound the alarm.
Yeah.
Well, I don't hate that. I'm definitely much willing to add anybody else to the off corner, so I don't talk about Ben Simmons. But so to get back to the Russell Westbrook discussion, I have written down in my notes, the Lakers have a Russell Westbrook problem. Now I know it's 3 games into the season, but all the talk of the offseason about how he's going to change his game to fit LeBron's style. Granted, like I said, it's only been 3 games, but that's simply not been the case. He hasn't been set one ball screen. He doesn't move off the ball. And because he can't shoot, people just ignore him when he doesn't have the ball, and he doesn't cut to the basket. So he's basically just Ben Simmons in the dunker spot, doing nothing. He's just useless. And the Lakers, again, 3 games, but still they sit at 1-2. With their one win being thanks to a missed free throw by Ja Morant. And that one loss against the Suns, that was a chip. I watched that. That was a chippy game. And you could tell they wanted to win that game so badly because of how the Suns ended their season before. And they just couldn't do it. They just didn't have the horses. So, I mean, I'm not saying the Lakers are going to be in danger of even falling out of the top 6 in the play-in game, but they were my pick to be the 1 seed. And 3 games into it, I think they have a Russell Westbrook problem.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is something, this year, last year in Washington, the year prior in Houston. That's it, right? It's been 3 teams in 3 years, right?
Technically 4 if you want to count like his last year in Oklahoma City, but yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I think it's been a common theme now for the last 2 years, and I think the same theme will continue to show this year, that in the first half of the season he sucks because he's completely in a new offense, getting used to it, understanding what his role is supposed to be, but still playing that crazy loose head full of steam, kind of just driving. The thing about him is, and this happened last year with the Wizards, this happened 2 years ago with the Rockets. First half of the season, he was really bad. Last year, I know for a fact, everyone was saying, we lost to the Wizards, lost the trade. Why did we give up John Wall for this guy? He's a loser, blah, blah, blah. Second half of the season rolled around, and people started talking about him as an MVP candidate. It's the same cycle for Russell Westbrook every single year. First half of the season, he sucks. Second half of the season, he kind of catches his stride, understands his role, understands where he can help the team. And that's when they kind of take off. Now, every year he also blows it in the playoffs. So I don't know what that whole thing is, but I foresee something similar again this year where he's going to suck in the first half of the season. Second half of the season, he's going to turn it on. Lakers are going to look really freaking good, and then they'll probably end up blowing it in the playoffs again.
Yeah. I mean, you're not wrong. He definitely did turn it on the past 2 years in the second half of the season. I do think that there's a key difference this year. So with the Houston year, he took off after they traded their center. So it was when they traded Clint Capella, and they literally just went 5 power forwards and whatever. They didn't have a center. So he had a wide open lane.
Mm-hmm.
And he was still ball dominant. Him and James Harden were still ball dominant. And last year with the Wizards, I do think that his struggles at the beginning of the year was mainly just because he wasn't healthy. Like, he had that quad injury at the end of the Houston year, and it was still bothering him at the beginning of the Wizards year. And then that team also just had terrible. I mean, I don't need to tell you that, but they had terrible COVID luck where, I mean, then they go like a 3-week stretch where they didn't play.
Yeah, something ridiculous like
something,
that. They were one of the teams that got hit really hard.
Yeah, I remember that. So you can kind of explain that away, why he was more successful in the second half the past 2 years. I do think this year's different because he was still, like last year on the Wizards, he touched the ball more than Brad Beal, which Brad Beal's an amazing scorer, but he's not quite the point guard that Russ is. So that makes sense. But he's never going to be he should never be ball dominant on the Jojo just walked in. So you want to talk about Russell Westbrook? Hi.
Great.
Sorry, I lost my train of thought, but he's never going to be ball dominant on the Lakers. You know, he's always going to be second fiddle to LeBron. And the fact that he can't just play nice for the first 3 games and say, all right, I'll accept my role. I'll cut to the basket. I'll set screens. I'll do all the little stuff that it takes to win. I don't know. I just think that's kind of alarming. 3 games that he's not even willing to do that. Like, all right, to get this win against the Suns, I'll play my role, but who knows? Maybe he'll get himself into shape, like not Zion shape, but like, you know, game mentally shape to play his role, and we'll see. But yeah, I don't know. Even if, let's say, he does turn it on in the second half, I feel like the Lakers are going to, I mean, home court advantage is such a big deal in the Western Conference that the Wizards are just happy to get the 8 seed last year. He really doesn't have that same luxury. Like, oh, I'll just turn it on in the second half.
Yeah, I mean, I get it, right? And it's like you said, though, he kind of, the last 2 years, right? Like second half, he adapted to the situation, and yeah, it opened up for him in the paint. Last year, it was, all right, I got to be more aggressive. It kind of worked for him. So to argue for him, because I loved him the second half of the season last year, and I don't blame you. I don't blame you at all. Right?
He was great.
So I think he also will probably try to do something similar where he'll need to take some time to figure out what his role is with the Lakers, to understand where he fits and how he can be a plus positive on the court rather than, or a net positive rather than a net negative. And I think he'll get to that. I think you can't discredit him because he's still, you know, one of the best players in the league. He's still kind of regarded in that sense. And I mean, he's a freaking walking triple double. You know, he knows what he needs to do. He's extremely efficient. Efficient is probably not the right word. He puts up good stats on the offensive end. So it's, I guess I'm still, the jury's still out for me is what I'll end it with.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, 3 games into the season, no one's making any sweeping, changes or anything like that. It's just, I mean, we'll see if for the first time in his career, he can accept not being ball dominant, because that's the biggest difference. But we can move on. So, I feel so. My main takeaway from the first week of basketball of the NBA, I should say, being back is kind of, I know it's kind of hypocritical because I just talked about like Russell Westbrook not looking good, but it's kind of take a deep breath and take a chill pill and don't make any sweeping changes in thoughts based on the first week. Because if you look at it, so opening night, the Bucks dominated the Nets, and you're like, oh man, like are the Bucks going to have like a 70-win statement here? What happened the next game? They got obliterated by the Heat.
Out.
Absolutely obliterated. And then the Heat, you're like, oh wow, maybe, that's a statement win. Maybe they're going to be in for a good year, and then they lost to the Pacers right after that.
Yep.
Next game. I mean, you can go down the list. I have a couple more notes that I won't go through all of them, but like the Hawks, game 1 against the Mavs looked awesome. Blew out the Hawks. Next game, lost to the Cavs. The Nuggets beat the Suns, their rival, the Suns in 4. Then they lost to the Cavs. the Hornets started 3-0. They were the darling of the team. And then they blew a terrible game to the Celtics just last night. So my main takeaway is just kind of chill out. Just don't make any huge sweeping general changes on what you thought after one game, because it just changes so quickly in the NBA.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, right now the Warriors are the number one team in the West. The Bulls are the number one team in the East, undefeated, both of them. So there's clearly a lot of basketball left to play. I think, those big assumptions and those big like hot takes, I guess, don't really come to fruition until I'd say maybe a month in. So we'll definitely revisit some of these predictions that we have and some of these thoughts that we have in a few weeks, because it's going to take teams time to settle in. My theme, I guess, is at least the last 2 days, what the heck is in the water, because everyone's posterizing everybody right now. There was like 8 posterizations last night alone.
Dude,
that was
Miles
one
Bridges.
of the craziest things ever. Miles Bridges, Collins had 2.
Collins,
one, Jaylen Brown had 1.
The Timberwolves
Anthony
guy.
Edwards.
Yeah.
Anthony
Edwards.
They were just marking yammed all over Jokic. That was
the first play of the game, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was awesome.
I mean, it's ridiculous. Like, what's in the water? Why are these dudes just randomly, like, where did this come from? But I'm all for it, because this is honestly what the NBA needs, are highlight reels and dunks like that. Another thing is, how good does Ja freaking look? That sucks that he missed that one free throw, but oh my God, he's playing on another level right now.
Yeah, he's amazing. I mean, he's again, it's not been that long, but I think he's a scoring leader so far.
He is.
Points per game. He's at what?
Mm-hmm.
35 points per game.
Something like that, right?
He's insane. And the Grizzlies are legit. They lost a heartbreaker to both the Warriors and the Lakers. But they're legit. I mean, I've always loved the Grizzlies. They've I'm a sucker for teams that are riddled with young talent. I love those original, like those OG OKC years.
Yeah. Like the homegrown talent, young, exactly. Up and coming. Yep.
I'm a sucker for that, just because it's like, I don't know, it gives you hope. Oh, you draft well and you can make it. So Ja's great. I love Jaren Jackson Jr. You even have like some draft darlings, like D'Anthony Melton was such a draft hit. I'm not that I'm a huge draft nerd, or I should say like sharp draft guy, but I love following the draft, and all the draft nerds are in on D'Anthony Melton. And then even they feel like they made some smart trades. I mean, that Justice Winslow trade didn't work out, but like if he hit, that just would have, I don't know. I just think they do things the right way. And yeah, I love it. I mean, I think they're so good. Yeah.
So let's do some week 1 overreactions then. Who do you think is going to win the West? Who do you think is going to win the East?
Well, so I did want to talk about I know my huge theme was like, just take a chill pill, but I do think there's some stuff that has happened in the first week that's legit. And I think and to me, the biggest thing is the Warriors.
Yep.
So I know they were your finals pick. I was less in on them. I didn't have them winning week 1 against the Lakers, but I mean, they're good. Steph is Steph. You expect that out of Steph, but my main thing with them is who else is going to score. And Bielitsa, I mean, he's been terrible for so long, but like he's been good so far. But the main Jordan Poole, like he seems to have taken a step forward.
Yeah, I mean, it honestly, like, they're undefeated. Steph is being Steph. Against the Clippers the other night, 25 points in the first quarter alone, 9 for 9, unreal. And the game-winning 3 to beat them in that game, which is crazy. And like I said too, Paul George having a great year already. Somebody that I think will be in the MVP conversation the entire season. And I think the Clippers will play pretty well. But the Warriors, I mean, honestly, I think it 100% depends on what Clay comes back. If Clay comes back, I would say 80%, 85% of what we would expect, or what we have known Clay to be. I think they're going to run through the West. I don't think it's going to be close.
Yeah, I mean, who else in the West has looked good? I mean, we just talked about the Lakers. My hot take is that I think that if the Clippers and Nuggets were fully healthy, I think they're the best 2 teams in the West.
Mm-hmm. I can see that. I agree.
That's my hot take. I mean, I don't know. It kind of got lost because the Clippers finally made a conference finals, and like everyone was so happy that the Suns made the finals. But I mean, they beat the Jazz 2 games in a row without Kawhi. They, I mean, they were a last second lob away from tying the series 1-1 in Phoenix.
Mm-hmm.
And then they just didn't have the horses to pull it out. But that Clippers team is awesome. And Ty Lue is a really good coach. I feel like
Yeah.
he didn't get his due when he was on the Cavs because LeBron, Kyrie, you get it. It's not, I mean, but he's a really good coach.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, they were one of the teams that I thought will make some noise. So
yeah, they were one of your three best futures. I remember that top 6 seed.
So I think that they'll probably end up doing that anyways. And even with them, it depends when Kawhi comes back. Just trying to say Kyrie and Kawhi at the same time.
Yeah.
When Kawhi comes back and how effective he is. So I mean, obviously, it's looking until like maybe April, May, early May, so right around playoff time. So we'll see if he's even going to play. But I think if he does, if he comes back healthy, that's another team you need to look out for. So we'll see. In terms of the East, I mean, I think, right now, from the West, I guess, before moving on to the East, I would say, I will say the number 1 seed right now, I will give it to the Warriors just because I think that they're playing way better than everybody else at this point.
Yeah, I mean, they were your pick to go to the finals. I don't see a reason why you should change your mind 1 week into it. I mean, they've only confirmed what you thought. Yeah, I mean, I picked the Suns. They're 1-2. I think they're 1-2. They don't look great. I think they're kind of figuring some stuff out. Yeah, they are 1-2. DeAndre Ayton doesn't look good. I thought he was going to take a step forward. Like feeling disrespected about that contract stuff.
Yeah,
the step forward he took in the playoffs. I was expecting him to be much better to start the year. He still could be. I mean, it's still so early.
It's all mental at this point. I think he's like, well, this team's not taking care of me, so it's kind of messing with his psyche.
Yeah. I mean,
he's so young. He's 23 years old.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? Like if someone didn't give us like some of their nachos when we were 23, we would probably not be able to think straight. So
if you didn't share your drunk pizza with me, they were
exactly.
Yeah. I get it. For the East, one thing I've written down is, hey, I kind of said the Nets don't need Kyrie. I think they'll be good with just Harden and KD, but I don't know. I mean, they haven't looked great. I think they're 2-2. With finally beating the Wizards last night. I think that makes them 2-2, but they were outplayed 95% of that game against the Sixers. If the Sixers didn't implode, they would be 1-3. And I don't know. I mean, they don't look as sharp as I thought they would. I thought they would come out with just a revenge season. And KD's gotten his. Harden's kind of started slow. He shot 1 for 8 last night. He hasn't. I mean, I thought he was going to be like the assist leader, kind of like what we predicted in our pregame show or preseason show. But he had 9 last night. I don't think. I mean, that double was like a free play last year. He hasn't quite been as sharp, and that's just maybe because he's spent so much time in strip clubs in the offseason. He just needs to get himself into shape.
Yeah, he's looking a little chonky, but I think he'll be fine. It's weird, right? Like I was like, man, Kyrie or not, this team's going to steamroll through the East.
That's exactly what I thought.
But I did say that I thought that the Bucks would end up with the number 1 seed in the East, just because they're now thought of as like, oh, the champion darlings, blah blah blah. And I think that the Nets will still come out of the East, but I'm going to stick to my guns and saying that the Bucks will win the East in the regular season.
Yeah, I don't hate it. I think, I'm not changing my finals prediction yet, at least for the Nets. The Suns, I'm going to hold on to it a little bit. I'm starting to waffle on that, mainly because of Ayton, but we'll see if he can pick it up. I'm not changing my mind on the Nets yet, but I don't know. I feel like a disappointed father. I was just expecting more from them. To sit at 2-2 with the loss to the Milwaukee Bucks on the opening night, fine. They got their rings that night. But to look bad against the Sixers for the majority of the game, to then lose, I know the Hornets are the darlings, but they're still not ready to make the leap yet. They're more fun than they are good at this point. And then, I mean, I guess they blew out the Wiz last night, but finally getting their act together. But I don't know. I'm not, like I said, not changing my mind yet, but they don't look quite as sharp as I thought they would.
Yeah, and again, we can't be too gung-ho about all this stuff yet. It's only been a week, but
yeah, I mean, we're probably going to feel dumb about half the stuff we say in a week from now.
Last thought I'll have, though, is and last question before we move on to some of the games in the upcoming week, who do you think's the alpha in Boston, Tatum or Brown?
Oh, I'll go. Jaylen Brown is better than Jason Tatum. I will go to my grave with. I mean, I'm biased because A, he went to Duke, so fuck him. B, I will never forgive the whole Markelle Fultz, Jason Tatum swap situation. That just like wake up in a cold sweat thinking about that. But Jaylen Brown is awesome. He is very good. And he's improved a ton since he came into the league. Whereas Tatum, he still shows flashes of brilliance. Like what last night he had like 40, I think.
Yeah, 41. Yeah.
But he's not quite as good in defense as Jaylen Brown is. And he's more inconsistent. Jaylen Brown, you know what you're going to get.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think Tatum is the better scorer. I think everyone can agree on that. But
Yeah.
I think as an all-around player, Jaylen Brown is better. Now, the question with the Celtics is, are they going to be able to coexist, or are they going to be able to, play together and kind of accept their roles as being 1A, 1B? Or is one of them going to get kind of power hungry and kind of want all the spotlight, and that start to cause some rifts? So I'm curious to see how it develops. So far, so good. I mean, they play well together. They seem to gel and go bounce off each other pretty well. But I don't know. We'll kind of see what happens. It seems like it's on that track to eventually be like, all right, you got to pick between one of us.
Yeah, I think they did. Yeah, I mean, they did max out Jaylen Brown, but he could just request a trade that like any NBA player does. Yeah, I think
exactly.
Yeah, the Celtics are one team that haven't really looked good to start. They got lucky to beat the Hornets last night. The Hornets that was more a Hornets implosion than it was a Celtics win. The Celtics right now, they're at 2-2, but they got annihilated by the Raptors in what's so far been the Raptors' only win. I'm not impressed with the Celtics.
Yeah.
But I do think we should talk a little bit about the Bulls being 4-0. I know we talked about them at the top of the show, but so have your thoughts on the Bulls changed? Whereas you think they're like they're like a legit going to make the top 6, or do you think that this is just more of an easy schedule than anything?
Well, I think at this point, I would say that I think they can end up top 6 because, I mean, I think you have Lonzo, who is a very, very good facilitator. He's a great playmaker. You have DeRozan, who kind of takes care of all the mid-range, everything. And then you have Zach LaVine, who can shoot the ball very well and can take it to the hoop as well. Both DeRozan and him can. Lonzo can too as well, honestly. And his jump shot hasn't looked awful. And then they also they have Vooch too. So he's not considered part of the ball sack, but he definitely is a good player. He's an all-star. So I think that they have, and it's the East. The East is always kind of easier to navigate through. I think that they can surprise some people. I think they do end up in the top 6.
Yeah, I think they're one of the teams I think you should take a chill pill about, because while they do look good, I mean, they've beaten the Pistons twice, they've beaten the Pelicans, and they've beaten the Raptors. So I think a lot of times, especially with the Bulls, a lot of what you can explain away is in the schedule. The Pelicans look like a train wreck, as we talked about. The Pistons just had the one pick. They could get the one pick again, and Cade Cunningham isn't even playing yet. And the Raptors, we just talked about, I mean, their only win was against the Celtics, and the Raptors haven't looked good either. So not that I'm saying I think they're going to miss the playoffs or anything like that. Mm-hmm. I just think that they're on the list of teams that they're definitely good, but just kind of take a chill pill and let's see how they play against the alphas in the NBA to really get a true understanding of how good they actually are. But I agree with a lot of what you said. I mean, the fact that they have other people they can go to aside from Zach LaVine is huge. I think they were relying on Kobe White a lot his first 2 years, and he never really stepped up. I love him because he's a UNC guy, but
me too.
It's kind of been disappointing.
Mm-hmm.
So adding LaRusso, not LaRusso, Caruso has been awesome. We haven't talked about him. He's been great. Yeah.
The bald bandit.
Yeah. I just think having players on the team who can help lighten the load for LaVine is huge. Because I love LaVine. He's an absolute flamethrower. I think he's incredible. And he's playing for that contract. But having DeRozan, who can get a bucket when you need one, not efficiently in his mid-range, but he'll get you a bucket. Lonzo's form is gross, but like you said, his percentages have never been terrible after, I think think he shot the ball horribly his first couple years with the Lakers, but
Mm-hmm.
you can kind of, I don't know, you can give him a break with that because of how just much of a train wreck those Lakers teams are.
Mm-hmm.
And then Vooch will just get out of bed and get you 20 and 10. He's not,
exactly.
He's you know, he's been an all-star the past couple of years in the East. So I do think that the Bulls are, I mean, they're good. They're obviously good. I'm not sure they're top 6 in the East yet, because I would still take, I mean, obviously the top 2, Bucks and Nets, 100%.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Hawks might get the 3 seed. I know we talked about them as like a chill out team, but the Hawks I think are going to be very good.
Mm-hmm.
The Sixers, even without Simmons, you have to like with the Heat right now. Surprisingly enough, the Heat actually have the best net rating in the NBA, which is funny.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think that because that win against the Bucks just gave
Mm-hmm.
them so much cred. And then the Knicks are a good regular season team, so I don't know. They can definitely get in the top 6. I think that I'm not quite ready to say that I think they will be. They're on the list of teams that could, I should say.
Yeah, that's fair. Totally respect that.
Yeah.
But I mean, hands down, best nickname in the league, the ball sack.
Can't get any better than that. But yeah, I mean, that's everything I had written down for my notes. I think that, overall, like I said, my main thing is just chill out.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's really easy. And I do this as well, but I mean, after week 1 or the opening night, the Bucks game, I was like, oh, they're going to repeat. Like they look incredible. And
Mm-hmm.
then they just get donkey womped by the Heat. So it's just funny how quickly everything changes in the NBA.
Hey, we called it though. We said they were going to go 1-1. They weren't going to start 2 now. So
yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So before we move on to the big games of the week, I do want to highlight the Wizards. Just obviously I have to.
Of course.
Wizards, I will eat my own words because I did say that they were going to get blown out by Toronto. So they actually beat them and they held them to under 85 points. So they held them to 83 points. That was the first time since October of 2017 that the Wizards have held any team to under 85 points.
That's absurd.
And they held opponents to under 100 only 3 times last year. And they did it in their first game. So I'll gladly take that, chalk that up where I was saying that Toronto was going to blow them out. One thing I will stay true to though is Bradley Beal going under on his points. I do, after watching them 3 games, I can see that there's more scoring to go around. Bradley Beal does not need to score as much. Spencer Dinwiddie has been playing well. Kuzma's been playing incredible. Montrezl Harrell's put up some points. So I honestly don't think he's going to be averaging. I think at most he'll be averaging 26, 27 a game. Nowhere close to 31 is what the over-under was in the beginning of the season. So yeah, if it's still available, take the under because there's no chance he's going to hit that now.
Yeah, I think it was underrated how much more depth the Wizards had after the Russell Westbrook trade because
100%.
He helped them so much last year. But I mean, I've always loved Dinwiddie. He's always been good. Even when he was in college, I loved him. Kuzma's hit or miss. He's been good to start. Maybe he'll keep it up. Who knows? But they have a lot of legitimately just like good enough players that I totally agree with your Brad Beal thing. I think that's legit. I think he's I don't know. I mean, so we'll wrap it up real quickly, but this is his last year in the Wiz. I know we've talked about it before. Have you changed your mind at all about him resigning?
So, I mean, I think they legitimately, it's only been 3 games, but it seems like that team is like, they enjoy being around each other, if that makes sense. But there's always felt like there's a little bit of tension on the Wizards teams in the years past. For whatever reason, this feels like the team, they actually care about each other. I think having Scotty Brooks gone is huge because he sucks. Wes Unseld Jr. is I think a good coach. Coming from Denver, I think has a good system that he's going to install here in Washington, and I'm really hoping that bodes well for them. In terms of Brad, I'm still kind of on the fence, but I'm slowly still leaning towards he'll re-sign.
Yeah, I think he will too. I mean, he's been nothing but loyal to the Wizards his entire career.
Mm-hmm.
If they have even a decent year, I don't know why he would stop that loyalty unless he just gets sick of they're as they are now, they're never going to be good enough to win a championship, but it doesn't seem like he's not that he hasn't prioritized that, but it doesn't seem like that's the deciding factor like it has been with some players. So I agree. He's always been loyal. I respect him staying loyal to a smaller market as far as basketball goes. So I think you're right. I agree. I think he resigns.
Cool. We're two for 2 on that one. I like to hear that.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's move into some of the games for the week.
Yeah. So real quick, I mean, no props or any lines or anything are out yet, but here are the bigger games that we're tracking this week. So let me know if I'm missing anything that you see, but Wednesday we got Heat Nets, which is going to be awesome. Friday we got Nuggets Mavs and Clippers Blazers. That's just another opportunity for the Blazers to just keep losing against teams that are decent. And then Saturday we have a rematch of the Eastern Conference semifinals with the Hawks Sixers. Then we got the Jazz Bulls also on Saturday. Are the Bulls legit? That's going to be a good game, definitely to circle to see how they play against the. Jazz. We haven't really talked about them at all, but they seem just as good as ever in the regular season. And then Sunday we get the Jazz Bucks. So possible 2-1 seeds playing against each other. So some good games.
Yeah, I mean those are some of the ones that I highlighted as well. I'll just go over off the bat. I think the Nets will end up winning that game tomorrow between the Heat and the Nets. Moving on to Friday, I'll go the Nuggets beating the Mavs, Clippers beating the Blazers. Saturday, I'll take the Sixers to beat the Hawks, and I will take. So Saturday, the Jazz are playing back-to-back. Saturday against the Bulls, Sunday against the Bucks. I think they'll beat the Bulls, but I think they're going to lose to the Bucks.
Yeah, I agree with you about the Jazz. I don't think the Bulls are quite there yet. And the Heat just to me seem like heavy hitters where they're going to beat the good teams and they're going to lose to the bad teams. That just seems like how the Heat season is going to go. So I'm with you there. Yeah, the Sixers and Hawks. I don't even know if I'm going to be able to watch that game. I'm just going to get so much PTSD from that series last year. But they should win. I mean, the Hawks are good, but the Sixers are always better. They just kind of imploded in the playoffs. But I don't know. The Hawks are my favorite over under win total was the Hawks over 46.5 wins. So they look good so far. So who knows? Yeah,
it's another full slate. I guess as we were heading out here, I'll give some folks one more ARB. So this will be for football. Give you guys some time to lock this one in. Yeah. So we have the Falcons and the Panthers. The team total for the Panthers over 20.5, under 20.5. On DraftKings, the over is -120 and the under is +125 on MGM. So you have some opportunity for an ARB there, which is nice. And that's not until Halloween, so you got some time to lock that one in. You got 5 days.
Spooky. Awesome. That sounds good. I'll monitor how the positive ED bets go this week, and we'll hopefully make another $1,000, hopefully more.
Yeah. All right. That about wraps everything up.
Yeah. So thanks for listening. Real quick, you can find us on Twitter. I'm at Modi_sports. Puneet at BetArbs. Share with your friends the podcast if you enjoy it. Let us know what you think. Appreciate any feedback. But excuse me. Other than that, appreciate you listening and happy betting, happy watching, and we'll talk to you next week.
Take care, y'all.